Hello my dear friends, you're in the military with Summary channel, and today we will discuss the situation in the world on the 1st of July of 2026. Today we have a lot of very interesting updates, so let's start. And first we're going to talk about the conflict on the territory of Ukraine. And according to information we have, the Russians have launched the mega strike that we've been talking about since the beginning of the 15th of June of 2026, when the previous massive attack ended. During this period of time between the 15th of June and the 1st of July of 2026, the Russians have concentrated hundreds of drones and dozens of missiles. Pro-Ukrainian sources reported, and they project that during this night the Russians will use hundreds of drones, more precisely 900 of drones, 42 cruise missiles of Ha-101 type, 35 ballistic missiles of Iskander-M type, up to 26 Iskander-K cruise missiles, 14 missiles of Caliber type, 12 hypersonic Zircon missiles, and 6 hypersonic Kinzhal missiles. So this is going to be obviously the mega strike, and obviously this is going to be the biggest strike since the beginning of the special military operation. And when I just started making this video, we had started receiving reports that first drones began entering the territory of Ukraine. Now the Russian drones are flying over the territory of Ukraine, gathering the surveillance information, and most likely in 2-3 hours the Russians will begin attacking the territory of Ukraine, first with cruise missiles and then with hypersonic missiles. So the strike has begun, the mega strike has begun. The Ukrainians tried to prepare themselves before the situation. During the previous 48 hours we start receiving lots of reports on the matter of emergency power outages. The Ukrainians reported and they introduced emergency power outages in all districts of the city of Kyiv, and also power outages were introduced in all regions of Ukraine from 5 p.m. till 2 p.m. of the 1st of July of 2026, and most likely tomorrow this situation will be repeated. The most important thing that Ukrainians right now are trying to turn themselves off the electricity with the purpose to reduce the pressure in the lines and to reduce the damage that the Russians are able to deal, first of all, to the equipment, because we understand one thing is to deal damage to objects of energy infrastructure and to lose these objects of the energy infrastructure. The second thing, to lose not just the objects of energy infrastructure but also equipment that connected to this infrastructure during attack. So that is why the Ukrainians in advance began preparing themselves before this mega attack. Another important thing is that Zelensky is not on the territory of Ukraine. This is another signal that this night is going to be a decisive night. Now let's move further and let's discuss the situation with the daily attack that was carried out by Russians today. According to information we have and according to media, the Russians probably since the beginning of this year, today destroyed the biggest number of gas stations through the entire territory of Ukraine. Let's discuss this in details. According to different sources, the Russians destroyed another gas station in the northern parts of Ukraine in the area of Chernigov region. And during this video we can see lots of episodes of how Russians were attacking and destroying gas stations through the Chernigov region. Another gas station was destroyed in the eastern part of the Chernigov region. More precisely, 2 gas stations were destroyed around the settlement of Baturin. In this video we can see the consequences of attack, and here we can see a video. We can see how civilians were filming the consequences of the Russian attack. As you can see, as a result of this attack, a vehicle was destroyed and the gas station as well. So the situation with gas stations in Ukraine is becoming critical. Furthermore, the Russians continue destroying the gas stations along MOT road that goes from the capital of Ukraine, the city of Kyiv, towards the line of combat contact in the most northeastern parts of the Kharkiv region, of the Sumy region, where the Russians continue their offensive operation in the direction of the settlements of Bachevsk and Ulanova. Moving further, and let's discuss the situation in the area of the city of Kharkiv. As for this area, another gas station was destroyed, and this is already a fourth gas station during the previous 24 hours on the territory of the city by the name of Valshany. In this video, we can see the center of the city, and we can see everything that left from the gas station that was destroyed in this area as a result of the drone strike. Another gas station, more precisely 3 more gas stations, were destroyed to the northwest of the city of Dnipro along N31 road. This is the picture of the first gas station destroyed by Russians. This is the video of the second gas station destroyed by Russians in the northwestern parts of the city of Dnipro, and this is the fourth gas station that was destroyed by Russians during the overnight and daily attacks carried out by Russians between the 30th of June and the 1st of July of 2026. The situation is becoming critical. Furthermore, the Russians destroyed 2 more gas stations in the area of the line of combat contact. One of them was destroyed on the territory of the settlement of Shakhtarskaya, which is located to the north of the area where the Russians are trying to break through Ukraine's defense in the area of the cities of Gavrilovka, Velika Mikhailovka and Pokrovska. To the north of the city of Pokrovska, another gas station was also destroyed, and here we can see probably civilians moving through this area, and here we can see destroyed gas station and at least 2 vehicles, or at least that's what was left from these 2 vehicles in this area. The Russians also destroyed gas stations through the area of the cities of Zaporizhzhia, Odessa and so on. The situation is critical, as we can see, and the Russians continue these tactics. The Russians most likely believe that at some point the energy and fuel collapse will occur through the eastern and the southern territories of Ukraine. Now let's move further. Another important thing, during the previous 24 hours, the Russians attacked the city of Odessa. According to information we have, the Russians attacked this facility. As a result of attack, a very heavy explosion took place, and then a fire broke out after the Russia's attack. The sources reported that a warehouse was destroyed in this area, and as you can see, this facility is located in the area of the settlement of Mayaki along the M15 road, where the Ukrainians have a lot of bridges that they built with the purpose to save connections between the most southwestern parts of Ukraine and the mainland. The main logistic of NATO and the main logistic through the Black Sea goes exactly through this area and probably through this object of energy infrastructure. So this is the situation in this area. Now let's move further and let's discuss the situation on the ground. During the previous 12 hours, significant changes on the ground were recorded. And first, let's talk about the Zaporizhzhia direction. The Russians continue their offensive operation in the area of the city of Orekhov. And according to media, the group of forces Dnipro continue their offensive operation towards the settlement by the name of Novandreevka. And according to these changes on the ground, we believe that in coming 10 days, the Russians would announce complete control over the settlement. And if it happens, if Russians are able to take this village under complete control, then the Russians would be able to approach the city of Orekhov from the west and from the southwest, and from these positions the Russians would tighten control over the N08 road between the cities of Zaporizhzhia and Orekhov itself. In the northeastern direction of the city of Orekhov, the Russians once again improved their positions. We have already discussed the situation. Now let's discuss everything in details. So this is the situation by the end of the 29th of June of 2026, when everything started collapsing for the armed forces of Ukraine. This is the end of the 30th of June, and this is the end of the 1st of July. The Russians during the previous 72 hours finished the battles for the village of Lesnoye, Rovne and the settlement of Kopani. As for the settlement of Kopani, this village was captured by Russians today according to pro-Russian sources, and in this video we can see the process how exactly the Russians were fighting for this settlement settlement. And through the final part of this video, we can see at least a flag that was raised by Russians right exactly at this point. Based on this video, we have adjusted the map. Later, this information and this video was confirmed both by the Minister of Defense of the Russian Federation and once again by the Group of Forces East. Now, according to this configuration of the front line, it's become clear that the Russians are going to continue their offensive operation with the purpose to establish complete control over the settlement of Dolinoka. With this offensive operation, the Russians would try to maintain the line to shorten the distances and to prepare themselves before moving further in the direction of the main logistic line TO408 that connects the city of Orekhov through the north with the mainland. Now let's move further and let's discuss the situation in the Dobropillia direction. I would like to remind you that yesterday the Russians, according to different but very reliable pro-Russian sources, managed to break through Ukraine's defense through the eastern parts of the settlement of Dobropillia to enter the city and to establish a strong foothold through the eastern parts of the settlement. As of the previous 24 hours, we haven't received anything additional on this matter, but we believe that in coming days we will start receiving first proofs. At the same time, we start receiving updates from the area to the northeast of the city of Dobropillia. We're talking about this dense network of the fortifications. Pro-Russian sources published this video where we can see how Russians were bombing and attacking positions, strongholds of the armed forces of Ukraine using artillery and using aviation. In this video, we see that the Russians were trying to soften defenses of the armed forces of Ukraine, and it seems that the Russians are preparing themselves before moving further in the northern direction with the purpose to cut physically the TO514 road. So after the Russians finish the battle for the eastern parts of the settlement, the Russians may try to move further in the northern direction with the purpose to cut the TO515 road physically, and if it happens, the Ukrainians from the area of the city of Dobropillia will lose significant number of supply and support they received in the past. Now let's move further. As for the Slaviansk-Konstantinovka direction, during the previous 12 hours we haven't received anything special. We have lots of videos of how Russians were bombing and attacking positions of the armed forces of Ukraine through the city of Drushkovka. The Russians, according to information we have, destroyed the bridge between the cities of Drushkovka and Alexeyevo-Drushkovka. The Russians basically tried to destroy the logistics between the central and the southern parts of the agglomeration, and it seems, according to this video, the Russians managed to hit badly this bridge, and the Ukrainians are no longer able to use this territory for the support purposes. Now let's talk about the city of Lyman and the Lyman direction. During the previous days, pro-Ukrainian sources were reporting that the Ukrainians began a counter-offensive operation through the northern Lyman direction, and as a result of this counter-offensive operation, the Ukrainians managed to improve their position significantly, and a lot of pro-Ukrainian sources have adjusted their maps showing significant progress on the ground made by the armed forces of Ukraine. But today, pro-Russian sources published a video with dozens of flags through the northern Lyman direction. We are talking about the villages of Glushenkovo, Ridkadub, Novy Mir, dozens of flags, dozens of confirmed Russian positions. This video was published just a minute before I started making this video, so that is why we haven't managed to adjust the map. We will discuss this video tomorrow, but when we analyze completely the video, we will most likely adjust the map like this, and we will return all these territories back under complete Russian control. The Ukrainians tried to counterattack in this area, and they made lots of attempts to do this, just with the purpose, first of all, to gain immediate victory, and the second purpose was to slow down the Russians in the area of the city of Lyman, but those attacks were repelled. Currently, there are lots of pockets of resistance and lots of sabotage and reconnaissance groups that were left by the Ukrainians through these three lines, but most likely the Russians will be able to secure these territories in coming days or maybe weeks. Moving further through the Kupyansk direction, lots of changes were also recorded. This is the end of the 30th of June and this is the end of the 1st of July. The Russians improved their positions through the dense network of the fortifications to the east of the settlement of Nova Osina. This information was reported and confirmed by neutral experts. The Russians improved their positions through the central part of the settlement of by the name of Kivsharovka, and these are the changes on the ground between the dates. We see that the Ukrainians have less and less territories under their control, and in coming months the Ukrainians would be forced to abandon their positions through the eastern bank of the river Oskil completely, and maybe even during the next months the Russians would be able to open the second front line along the river Oskil somewhere in the area of the villages of Lesnaya Stenka, Sinkova and Pristin. Very likely the Russians would try to cross the river Oskil in this area with the purpose to take under complete control the territories between Khmovina, Lesnaya Stenka, Sinki and Pristin, with the purpose to increase the pressure on Ukraine's positions through this area and to shorten the distances towards the logistic line by the name of MO3 between the cities of Kharkiv and Izum. As for the city of Kupyansk itself, during the previous 24 hours, also additional changes on the ground were recorded. This is the end of the 30th of June of 2026, and this is the end of the 1st of July of 2026. The Russians improved their positions through the northern parts of the settlement. This information was confirmed by very reliable pro-Russian sources, and we see that the Russians finished the battle not just for the eastern bank of the river Oskil, but the Russians finished probably the 8th battle for the city of Kupyansk once again, but this time most likely without any chances for the armed force of Ukraine to counterattack and to restore control over this citadel. And when the battle for Kupyansk ends, the Russians will take time to improve their positions there, to improve equipment in this area, and then Russians will begin offensive operation in the western direction with the purpose to attack towards the Pechenegi water reserve, with the purpose to close the northeastern parts of Kharkiv region, where the Russians also continue their offensive operation and where another breakthrough happened during the previous 24 hours. Now let's talk about the settlement of Belaya Kolodez. We've been talking a lot about the situation in this area, about several breakthroughs that the Russians managed to achieve as a result of clashes, and today we received another report published by the Group of Forces North and confirmed by the Minister of Defense of the Russian Federation. And according to this report, the Russians, as a result of clashes, established complete control over the settlement by the name of Ukrainske. Based on these reports, we have adjusted the map. Furthermore, several pro-Russian sources adjusted their maps even more in this direction, showing additional control not just over the settlement of Ukrainske, but according to several pro-Russian sources, now currently the Russians have partial control over the villages of Pilna and Shevchenka, and the distance towards the edge positions of the settlement of Belaya Kolodez is already less than 6 kilometers. The Russians managed to outflank the settlement of Belaya Kolodez, and now the Russians are ready to attack the city of Belaya Kolodez from behind, and the Russians are ready to attack the city of Belaya Kolodez from the positions that weren't designed to repel any attack, which means that the Ukrainians most likely will not be able to show fierce resistance and they would be forced to fall back, probably in the direction of the settlement of Veliki Burluk and further in the southern direction, with the purpose to organize defense between the cities of Kupyansk and the Pechenegi water reserve. But as we discussed just a minute ago, the Russians most likely are finishing the preparation before this offensive operation as well. According to this configuration and according to the situation that Russians attacking this area at least from 5 or maybe from 4 or maybe from 5 directions, it seems that Ukrainians will not be able to show fierce resistance in this area and they would be forced to fall back in the southwestern direction with the purpose to hold the lines along the river of Seversky Donetsk, using this river as a natural barrier before Russian offensive operation. It seems that the Russians are ready to recapture the territories they lost during the Ukraine's Kharkiv counter-offensive operation of 2022. And as for the Kharkiv direction, I would like to remind you the first thing is that the Russians have already destroyed dozens of gas stations around the city, which means that the Ukraine's logistic collapsing and crumbling. Another important thing, the Russians destroyed dozens of objects of energy infrastructure with the purpose to damage the railway service and railways connections between the cities and towns and between positions of the armed forces of Ukraine. So we see that the entire situation for the contingent of the armed forces of Ukraine, for the second military corps of the armed forces of Ukraine, continue deteriorating through the entire northeastern parts of Kharkiv region. Now let's talk about the city of Sumy. The Russians continue attacking the settlement. The Russians continue attacking gas stations. The Russians continue their offensive operation. But as of the previous 24 hours, we haven't received almost anything from this area. Just several videos published from the settlement of Krasnopillya, where we can see how Russians were bombing edge positions of the armed forces of Ukraine. Now let's move further. During the previous 24 hours, the Ukrainians also tried to carry out a massive attack deep inside of the territory of Russia. The Ukrainians used several waves of drones to attack in the northern and the southern directions, but according to information we have, the Russians managed to repel everything at least over the territories of old Russia. As of the territories of Crimea, Zaporizhzhia and Kherson, pro-Ukrainian sources published several videos how they were damaging the objects of military infrastructure, radars and air defense systems, which means that there are still problems for Russians through these territories. But as for the territories through the mainland of Russia, it seems that the Russians managed to stabilize the situation, and as of now the Ukrainians are not able to break through the Russian layered air defense systems and forces. During the previous 24 hours, several explosions were recorded through some cities of the Russian Federation. It seems that the Ukrainians were using missiles to attack deep inside of the territory of Russia, but it seems that the damage that the Ukrainians managed to deal is minimal. Another important thing is that, according to information we have, Zelensky is seeks for presidential elections, and it seems that he's going to try to find a solution how to make a presidential elections on the territory of Ukraine during the 2026, because first of all he needs and he understands that he wants to sign any agreement with the Russian Federation, but as the Russians reported, they can talk with Zelensky, but if the Russians talk with Zelensky, it doesn't mean that they will sign anything with him. So Zelensky is trying to create the situation when he will have a possibility to be a legitimate president in front of Russians, but as the president of the Russian Federation stated, this is not the target of the armed forces of the Russian Federation to save the president of Ukraine. And that's it for today. The Military Summary channel reminds we condemn any violence in the world. Thank you for your watching. Subscribe to my channel, put your likes to my Patreon, and have a good day. Bye bye.